Let's make a plant-based frittata with the flavors of Italy. If a pizza and an omelet had a baby, it would be a frittata.
Now, Brian, in my opinion, was the king of the frittata even before we made the transition to plant-based.
I used to make a lot of frittatas.
He did.
Yeah.
And they were so good.
And I finally figured out how to do it using just egg. And it's actually surprisingly simple. You just need to keep a few things in mind. But no good cooking anything starts out without an onion. I don't know why that is, but it is true. So I'm just going to dice up an onion here.
And for those of you who don't care for onion or can't eat onion, please don't be upset by that comment. Brian just is a big fan of the onion, and we always seem to have onions in our dishes.
Yeah, because they're a great way to add flavor. Now, I understand some people are sensitive to them, allergic to them, or just plain don't like them, and that's fine. You could leave it out. I won't be too offended. Just don't invite me over to eat it.
All right, so we're just doing half of an onion today.
Oh, is that all we're doing?
That's all we're doing today.
This is not a huge frittata. This is a medium-sized frittata. I have to say something here. I wrote this recipe out like a month ago. I looked it over, but I wrote it like a month ago. So to chop the onion, I'm just going to go pretty simple on this one. Kind of rustic chunks. Nothing too small. You know, like that. It's all good. That goes in the bowl. Let me guess, I'm not using the whole bell pepper either.
Nope, just half the bell pepper, too.
Half a bell pepper. So I'm just going to shave around the ribs. See? That's how you get a nice piece, just like that. It also gets you the most pepper with the least waste. That's almost half. Now it's half.
Half-ish.
And all the bits and bobs that we're going to be scraps, they're going to actually go into a bag in the freezer, and once a month or every few weeks now, Derica pulls them out. She puts them in the Instant Pot, and we make veggie broth with it.
Yep.
It's the best veggie broth you'll ever make, and it's essentially free.
Yep.
Think about it, because you're using things that you would have thrown away, so it's free.
And even if you're going to compost those things, after you make the veggie broth, I still compost it anyway. So there's no loss.
That's true. Oh, wow. It gets used twice over.
Yeah.
It's actually the very first video we ever did on this show. And it'll be linked in the description or somewhere.
Brian is always so happy when I make it because when it comes,
whole house
it just smells fantastic.
It smells so good. And I'm going to go about the same size for the peppers. By the way, if you're doing this at home, I highly suggest standing. Sitting and cutting this stuff up is much more complicated.
Yeah.
What about that big?
If you're able to stand, it's going to give you a lot more control over your knife work.
Yep. Exact size isn't crucial. You just don't want them to be like super big chunks, but kind of a rustic works for me. All right, in the bowl. Ooh, some of these are a little bit on the big side. See, that's too big. You don't want just a big honking piece of pepper.
Bite-sized. You don't want it overly large.
Some other things that we're going to be using in this are going to be, this happens to be an Impossible Italian sausage. Now, we have at least 2 that I know of Italian sausage recipes on this channel that are not Impossible or Beyond Meat.
Right.
So if you want to use one of those, go for it, or use the sausage of your choice. You only need 1 link for this, though, so that's not a big deal. We just happen to have some Italian Impossible sausage, so that's what we're using. In addition to that, we're going to be adding some greens to this later. And for that, what do we have? Let me see that bag.
We got frozen greens.
I think it's... These happen to be turnip greens, but collards, kale, even spinach works really, really well. Just going to use like a half cup. So you don't need a lot. We've started getting these steam-in bag ones that have like 15 ounces at a time. And I just take a little bit out as I need it. And I just literally sprayed the camera. Okay. I just take a little bit out as we need it and throw it in. But for now...
We also grow our own mustard greens.
Yes, we do.
And if I...
Our table is not all that large that holds all the stuff. And we have all the ingredients off to the side.
Luckily, that wasn't anything breakable.
Yeah, it was just a plastic container.
But if I had enough mustard greens right now to harvest, we would totally be using those as well.
Yes. Okay, so now that we have our veggies, we have our sausage ready, I'm just going to put that to the side, and we're going to start putting together the egg mixture. And for that, I actually like to use a 2-cup Pyrex because it makes things a lot easier to measure, and it has a spout. You just, pour. So,
now, are you going to require a whisk or something to mix this up?
Yep. Let me go get one. Ready to whisk.
All right, we're going to start off with 1.5 cups of Just Egg. Now, this is the liquid Just Egg.
Probably just need one.
Not the frozen Just Egg.
Because the frozen one would be done already and it won't really work the same.
Yep.
Just 1.5 cups. This serves 2 to 3, sometimes 4 people, depending on how much you like to eat. If you're me, it might serve 1. Just saying. We're looking for 12 ounces, which is 1.5 cups. Every drop is sacred. And I do have to open the second one.
Yeah, we joke about every drop being sacred, but in this particular instance, this is kind of pricey.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to waste any of it.
Although it's a lot cheaper now than it was just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It used to be really expensive.
Yeah.
And for those who are concerned about it, yes, it's a processed food. But let me just read to you what's in it. Water, mung bean protein, expeller pressed canola oil. That's actually the good kind of canola oil. And before anybody argues with me that canola oil is bad for you, there's a lot of people out there that say a lot of things about oils. Canola oil, from what I've researched, is one of the better ones. I'm not going to say all oil is good or all oil is bad, but if you use oil, canola oil is not one of the bad ones. And then contains less than 2% of all the rest of these things. Carrot extract, dehydrated onion, gellan gum, potassium citrate, salt, sugar, tapioca syrup, tetrasodium phosphate. I'm not sure what that is. Transglutenase and turmeric extractives, and then niacin, which is a preservative. So for the most part, it's mung bean protein.
Right. I think there's one of those ingredients is a trigger for some people, and it's one of the 8.
Oh, okay. Well, if some of those are a problem for you, then I wouldn't use this product, and I probably would just skip this recipe altogether. Make a tofu scramble instead.
Yeah.
They're similar-ish. I do need the other one, though. I need to open it.
That said, we have attempted to make our own Just Egg version, and it didn't come out.
I did not have good success with that.
Yeah, it didn't come out the way we wanted it to.
I'm working on it, though.
So we're going to continue that, and if we do ever get it just right, we will certainly make a video on that and share it with you.
But for now, I've been using this stuff, and I'm okay with it. You know, you got to pick your battles.
Yep.
If you're going to choose a processed food, this is probably not the worst processed food you could use.
Okay, and to that, we're going to add a tablespoon of dried basil.
I'm going to eyeball this because it doesn't matter. She's just going to knock everything
All the
over.
things.
Tablespoon, you
A
said?
tablespoon.
Okay.
A teaspoon of dried thyme.
Just a teaspoon?
Apparently this time you can have too much thyme.
I really like thyme. I love it in tomato sauces, especially.
Half a teaspoon of red pepper flake. We really enjoy that little tiny touch of spice. If you are super sensitive to capsaicin and don't like it at all, then feel free to omit this.
Or add more if you really like it.
Yeah.
What else we got?
A teaspoon of garlic powder.
If you'd prefer to use fresh garlic, you totally can. I don't have a problem with that. I just didn't put fresh garlic in this one.
And then finally, a half teaspoon of kala namak, or black salt.
Yep.
Now, this is really going to make it seem like egg. It is
sulfury.
A sulfury type thing. We have seen in comments on other channels where people don't like that at all. Well, if you don't like that at all, then leave it out. But I like it because it works for me.
Something about using kala namak. Generally speaking, I put it on at the end, okay? Because it will cook out.
Yeah.
So I used a lot up front so that as it cooks, we don't lose as much flavor. Because this would be a very difficult dish to add at the end. It'd only be on the top. I want it through the whole thing.
Yep.
And then I'm just gonna give it the whiskey business here and whisk that up. Basically just want to get all the herbs all throughout it.
Yeah.
And I'll probably have to mix this again just before I add it to the pan. At this point, though, you probably want to get your oven set to 350 degrees, which I'll put the Celsius right here because I can never remember what it is, like 175 or something, but I'll put it here. And there's one other ingredient that we haven't spoken about yet. Actually, there's 2, but we'll get to those once we need to add those in the pan. Now I'm going to meet you over at the stove. We'll start cooking. All right, so I have a pan on medium, maybe just over medium heat on the stove, and I'm going to add a little non-stick juice, also known as extra virgin olive oil. You can skip that step if you really don't want to. Then I'm going to take our veggies and throw them right into that pan. You should certainly hear some sizzle with this one. I want it to be fairly hot at this point. Move them around a little bit. And then I'm going to clear a spot right in the middle of that pan and drop in our Impossible sausage. Now, if you're using one of our sausages, this step isn't ultimately necessary unless it's frozen. I let this thaw completely, but I do need to cook the Impossible sausage, where our sausages are already cooked by the time they get to this stage. If you're using something like a field roast or something, you might just want to brown the outside, kind of like ours. Same idea. And to help with the breakdown of the veggies, I like to just add a little bit of kosher salt. That's right, we're using kosher salt now, my favorite kind of salt. We're done with the Himalayan stuff. No more grit in my teeth. Because the pan is so hot, I only need like maybe a minute on each side for that sausage. We'll go 2 or 3 though, on all sides. Just get it done. By the way, if I haven't mentioned it, I've been playing with the hex-clad pans a lot. And I bought a couple more. I got the wok and I got a 3.3 quart saucepan. And I gotta tell you, these things are unbelievable. There was just a little bit of oil in there, like just a few drops, not very much at all, and nothing is sticking here. This is pretty amazing stuff. I could probably do without the oil altogether, and it wouldn't stick. But I like the extra flavor that olive oil gives too. As you can see, we're getting nice color on all sides of that sausage. Keeping it in the center of the pan like that actually helps to keep the heat more consistent. You can put it to the side, but the sides of the pan are never going to be as hot as the middle, at least on my stove. If you're using gas, that might be different. And just keep rotating that sausage around, getting it cooked on all sides. Get the corners now. Just kind of hold it in place with some of the veggies there. There we go. It's starting to smell like sausage and peppers in here. This is awesome. Now, with the Impossible sausage, you can tell when they're done, when they're kind of firm to the touch. They definitely firm up as they cook. You just want to keep these veggies moving around in the pan so nothing sticks, nothing gets burned. But you can see some of them are getting a little char. That's what I like on them. I want a little bit of that fire roasted feel to it. There's a fine line between fire roasted and burnt though, so be careful. All right, that sausage looks like it's pretty well done to me. I'm going to turn the heat down to low, which is still going to keep this very hot. I'm going to get that sausage out of there so we can cut it up. And now I have our chopped turnip greens. I'm just going to add about a half cup of those. They have a little liquid in them too. And next is something that adds a ton of flavor, sun-dried tomatoes. We had discovered these and they're just amazing. Do about a quarter cup of those. You overdo it, they get a little bit much, but in just the right amount, oh, they add such an amazing umami flavor to this dish. I want to mix that all through. See, the frozen veggies will actually cool the pan down a little bit, which is kind of what I want now. I just want everything to kind of absorb all the liquid that's in the pan. And while that happens, let's go cut up our sausage. Okay, so time to slice up our sausage. I probably didn't cook it all the way through, but that's okay. This gets baked anyway. But I want to just cut it longitudinally. And it is cooked all the way through pretty much. And then I'm going to cut like little half moons off. And you can go on the bias if you want to. You can get as fancy as you want. I'm going simple, you know. There's a rustic, simple dish.
Again, we're looking for bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, about the same size as all the veggies, pretty much. But by cutting it this way, you get a little bit more sausage pieces in your frittata. If I cut it into rings, there's less sausage.
That's right.
I mean, same amount, but you know what I mean.
Dispersion.
Yes. You get a little bit in almost every bite. Get it all. You paid for that sausage. Every little leaving. That's right, I say that word all the time now. I don't.
It's my fault.
Yeah. And now back over to the stove. Now we're back over to the stove. Drop our sausage into that pan. Give everything a nice mix. I mean, this looks amazing just like this. You know, put this over some grains or something, and this is just awesome. I mean, honestly, just put it in a bowl and I would eat it. Oven is now preheated, so that's a good thing because we're going to need it in just a few minutes. At this point, though, I do want to turn the heat back up to about 4. You'll understand why in just a moment. Get everything nicely dispersed. Remember that just egg mixture? Give that another whiskey business. Get everything up there. And then I'm going to pour that into the pan. Do it with my left hand so you can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. And now this is a 10-inch skillet. If you're using a different size skillet, it might not fill it as much or it might fill it more. I found that the 10-inch actually works best for this. Just going to grab a spatula and scrape out all the Just Egg goodness. All right. All right, now I just want to move everything around in the pan. The egg's already starting to set up, and that's a good thing. We want that to happen. Just kind of get it all evenly dispersed. I'm going to use that spatula again and just kind of separate it from the sides. See, it's not set up quite yet. Otherwise, it would kind of pull away from the sides a touch as I do this. It's just ever so slightly starting to. I want to cook it on the stove for a couple more minutes, get the bottom part of it set. And while that's happening, I'm going to take some Daiya mozzarella shreds and just toss them over the top. If you have another kind of cheese that you like, you can certainly use that. You can leave the cheese off if you don't want to use it. Or I haven't tried it with any of the homemade cheeses that we've made, but it might actually work. Like, ooh, even like an almond or a tofu ricotta might be nice on this. I'll have to try that. Probably used a half cup in total because that package was already open. I just want to spread it around, but not all the way to the edge because this stuff will actually stick to the pan and burn. So I don't want that to happen. So a little piece right there, touching the side. Get it off there. And now this is starting to set up a little bit. My oven is preheated. So this is going to go right into the oven for about 30 minutes. At 30 minutes, I start checking it. If it still jiggles like this, go another 5 or 10 minutes and just keep going until it doesn't actually move around at all. And you can take your spatula down the side. I'll show you that in a few minutes though. All right, after 30 minutes, I took it out of the oven and I'm going to go around it with our spatula. I just want to make sure it's not sticking. And you can see it separates really nicely. Should do that. And it basically, if you jiggle it, see how nothing's really moving? That's how you know it's done. Because you want to make sure the center of it is totally cooked. Yep, nothing sticking. I could probably get it to move in the pan if I keep trying. There we go. It's sliding around in the pan itself. Beautiful. So now nothing is stuck. I want to let this cool for about 5 or 10 minutes though, because even the handle of the thing is hot. So I got my glove on and we'll meet you over at the table for a quick tasting. Okay, so it's been sitting for a little bit. It's still kind of warm, so thus the glove. And I'm just going to go around it with the spatula, make sure it's completely not sticking, which it wasn't before, so it shouldn't be now. And then I'm going to just give it a little shimmy. Oh, come on. Work with me here. And it comes out. Beautiful. Let me get rid of this. I'll be right back. Now, the only thing that's left to do is cut this and taste it. And to cut it, I actually want it to be a close-up in slow motion. So here we go. And now comes the best part of every cooking show. We get to taste it. There's some cheese on my knife.
Cheese leavings.
Gotta get the cheese off my knife. Oh wow, there's a lot. I don't want to ruin my knife though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just have a little piece here. Go for it. You're good. Just so you go right for it.
It was the best piece. Look at that. I mean, there's the greens, the sausage, the cheese. The only thing I'm missing is the pepper. That's okay.
Oh, jeez. Mine's falling apart. Get it all on the fork there.
Oh, it smells so good.
You could give this to somebody that is not a plant-based person. They would never know this was an egg.
They would happily eat it all.
I mean, we might just eat the whole thing as a snack right now, even though this is kind of a meal.
This is calorie or nutrient. It's both dense.
It's not that bad, but yeah, there's quite a few calories in it. But all those flavors just work so well together. And this is where I like the idea of the fire roasted peppers because there's a different texture to them. There's a different flavor when you cook them at that higher temperature like that. Just a little bit of scorching actually works really, really well. Yeah. And that combined with the sun-dried tomatoes, really adds.
They add a sweet smoky combo to it. It's just fantastic.
So in case you're wondering what a frittata is, it's kind of like an egg pizza.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of, not exactly. It's more like if a pizza and an omelette had a baby, it would be a frittata. I probably should have said that in the beginning of the video, because that would be better. So storage options for this. You could put this right into, like put it on a plate, cover it up, and put it in the fridge. And this would probably keep for a few days. To reheat it, you can throw it in an air fryer and just heat it a little bit. You can put it in the oven for a few minutes.
You can even eat it cold.
Yeah, I prefer it warm, but she will eat it cold.
Yeah.
It'll keep that way. I don't think I'd want to freeze this. I think the cheese and the egg might get a little bit weird if you do that. But otherwise, this actually came out fantastic. I've made this same recipe now several times in testing, and every single time I'm always amazed, like, wow, this comes out so good every time. Really, really simple, just takes a little bit of time. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Bistro.